What's up, everybody? This is iGoByJOSH inviting you to Drumfest this weekend. We have Hendry, Brent, Easton, Naomi, Raine, Gary Mays, Chris Knox, Steve Collins, Sean Byrd, 3 a.m., LightItUpSA, iGoByJOSH, inviting you to Christian World Worship Center, 6633 Walzem Rd. Doors open up at 6. Tickets are $10 at the door. See y'all there.
You are listening to Refocused Magazine Podcast with your host, Shemaya Reid. This podcast is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. Now let's tune in to today's podcast.
Hey, welcome guys to the I Am Refocused podcast. Today we have a special guest, the one and only #iGoByJOSH, aka Josh Greene. What's up, Josh?
Good morning, man. How are you?
Doing great. First of all, I want to introduce our co-host Sam. Say what's up, Sam.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And Miss Deborah.
What's up?
And big shout out to Rico Rodriguez for the, just open arms and letting us have this podcast here at Rockefeller's Barbershop. And like I said, Josh, man, you are a big up-and-coming entrepreneur in San Antonio, man.
Thank you.
And you work really hard, man, like for real. Like, I see you're grinding. You have a big event coming up later tomorrow, right?
Yep, tomorrow and Saturday.
Tell us about this event, Drumfest. Tell us how did that come about and what is all going down.
So Drumfest started as a birthday celebration for my big bro Hendry, but a lot like myself, he didn't really want the attention to solely be on him. So this year we've had it before in 2013, and that one was centered more around him. It was for his birthday. This year we decided to change it up and brand it as a Drumfest. So we bring in drummers from all over the world, all over the country, but we also bring in other people, so people that can teach you about music production, sound production, worship, just all different things. So it's branded as Drumfest because it's based around a few drummers getting together, but the event overall is really more so just about music. It's a beautiful music festival that we started, and I believe the center of it is worship and music education.
Gotcha. Now, where is it held at?
It'll be held at Christian World. I do not know the address off the top of my head. By the time
this, put it in the description.
Beautiful, but yeah, it'll be held at Christian World off of Walzem.
Okay. And what's the time?
It starts at 6:50. Doors open at 6 o'clock.
Okay. And is it a free event? Can anyone show up?
It's $10 at the door. $10 at the door. $20 for the whole weekend.
So don't be cheap, y'all.
Please don't.
And cash?
Yes, cash, card, however.
Okay. So, man, all right. So this thing that you're doing, is it something you want to grow into getting more drummers out there and doing their thing? Like,
absolutely.
What's the vision behind it?
We have a platform there for young and up and coming drummers. So there are different segments where, like myself and Derek, a little bit. Well, he's a lot more established as a musician than I am.
Gotcha.
But there is a segment where younger drummers do have the opportunity to get up and play. We have clinics and sessions during the day on Saturday morning. So there's placement for really for everyone to have fun, get some shine, fellowship, network. It's just a really great atmosphere for musicians.
Now, not switching the subject, staying on your events. What's this Light It Up thing that you do once a month?
Light It Up.
Tell us about that.
So Light It Up is also a platform. It's a platform for local artists, and it's a place where more mainstream artists can come and meet their fans in a more intimate setting. A lot of times when artists come to San Antonio, they may come to the Lila Cockrell Theater or the Aztec Theater or the AT&T Center. You really don't get the opportunity to be one-on-one and connect with that artist, rather than you come to Light It Up where it may seat 300 people that day.
Yeah.
Afterwards, it's a lot easier to shake 300 hands rather than 30,000 hands. So it's an opportunity. It's much more up close and personal, but it's really a platform for artists, entrepreneurs, just really anything kingdom based and positive. It can serve as a platform for you to get your name out and for you to network and grow your brand.
Now, when did you start this? How many years have you been doing this? Light Up?
We started Light It Up we've been doing it for 2.5 years. Anthony Rosser and myself Anthony has now moved on to do other projects as well, but it was he and I that started it. We started it in a church called Sound of Victory. At the time, that too was off of Walzem, but we started it really originally started as a fundraiser for a bigger event. We wanted to have a really large Christian hip hop concert once a year, but we knew it would take funds, so we said, all right, rather than us trying to pay out of our own pocket, let's start something up to fund that. So we started with open mic nights. A few of them didn't go as planned, so we figured we had to really brand it on its own. And then we started Light It Up, and through Light It Up, we decided to just scratch the original plan with trying to move on to a bigger concert and just keep this thing going, because it really took a life of its own.
Now, where did you get all this entrepreneurship? Who inspired you?
I'll say my mother. She's been an entrepreneur for the majority of my life, or at least since I've lived with her. I've been in San Antonio since 2008. She became an entrepreneur for herself in maybe 2005, and I lived with her for about a year then. But as far back as I can remember, my mom was always had something going for herself. My dad was military, but my mother was always doing something business-wise for herself, whether it was working some small extra job or whether it was starting her own realty company. So now she's her own broker. She owns her own realty company. She also does credit restoration and things like that. So I've always just known firsthand, seeing it in my own home, that I could go on to do things for myself as an entrepreneur if I chose to and if I worked hard enough. So I credit that thing to my mom.
What are some of the traits you think is very important when you're first getting started being an entrepreneur? You know, it's totally different. You're kind of testing things. You're kind of developing skills. Like, what are some of the steps you think are necessary and some of the traits?
Steps and traits, I would say I would start with prayer and praying about what your passion is. So if you don't have passion in that area, you're not going to have drive, which is something that you definitely need. Like, I can guarantee Rico is very passionate about being a barber. So he'll wake up in the middle of the night and figure out new ways to become a successful barber. He owns his own business, so he's passionate about it. If you lack passion, you're not going to. It's going to be very, very hard to thrive and to have drive to get up and want to do it every morning, because just because you're in business for yourself and it's something that you think is fun, it's not always going to be easy. There's going to be days where you have to tell yourself you have to get up because you're your own boss. There's not going to be somebody to call you in the morning to say, hey, get up and go to work. You have to tell yourself that.
So you can't call in sick?
No, you can't call in sick. No, none. No days off at all. You don't have that option. Until you grow and things blossom and get bigger, but until then, you don't. You're the person that has to call somebody and say, hey, you need to get up and we got to get to work. So I would start with passion, and if you don't know what your passion is, because everyone doesn't, my advice would be to start with prayer and just to ask God, lead me and kind of reveal what it is that I'm passionate about secretly, because you may know it and just may not know that that's your passion. You may just think it's something cool and cute.
Yeah, that secret treasure that he talks about, putting it in the ground.
Right.
That's it right there.
Right.
That's
it's
passion.
that seed. Yep.
Exactly. And speaking of passion, like, when you started Light It Up, was it just something that clicked and it just started to flow, or was it something that it was more of a process you had to take certain steps in planning and networking?
Oh, it was a process. It's still an ongoing process. The first two were great. The first three were, but once we hit that fourth, that's when we really realized, okay, this is really going to take like some real hard work. It's been a process, but because we have passion and we're driven, we're not going to give up. Nobody's success story in the history of ever, no one's process was no two processes are alike, and then it's never going to be easy. No one's success fell in their lap. So you could go around each business in this plaza and nobody will say, yeah, I woke up one morning and I just had all these customers in my front line, so I started a business.
Press the easy button.
Right. It doesn't exist. So it's been a process for us. But I love it. It's hard work, but I wouldn't trade it.
Tell us a story, like if you have one, where you had to deal with that situation where maybe it was a hiccup or some kind of difficulty.
Okay.
Can you share one of your stories, like early on, when you had to get your feet wet and it's like, oh, it's not? So
we learned. I tell the story of the first bad, the only one bad lighted up that we had. It happened a little while ago, not this year, but the lineup didn't work out. We had a few cancellations with a few of the artists, because a lot of times we have artists coming in from out of town. So we had a few artists that weren't able to get out. I believe the weather may have been bad. So the attendance was low. The artists weren't able to show up. But at the time we were renting a venue. So regardless of who does and doesn't show, we still have rent to pay and we have things we got to get done. I can't go to them and say, well, nobody showed up, so sorry, I don't have the money. It doesn't work that way. Yeah. So it was hard because we didn't have the attendance and the turnout that we wanted, and that, in my opinion, was the hardest lighted up. Nothing that night really flowed the way it was supposed to. And I don't share this story often, but I actually that night sat in my car and cried till like 3 a.m. Yeah. And I drove to a random Whataburger. I still couldn't find this Whataburger to save my life. I didn't order anything. I drove until I found a Whataburger, and I sat in the parking lot and cried till 3 a.m. People was blowing up my phone, calling, trying to find out where I was, and I just sat there and cried. And then at some point, I wiped the tears and said, "All right, we got it out. We know what to do next month." Picked myself up and kept going.
So you didn't quit?
No, absolutely not. But I'm grateful for that lighted up, because I've seen it at its worst. I've seen it at its best. But if you don't see something at the worst, you really don't have anything. You don't have much to always look forward to, and you don't have much to fall back on. Yeah. So
you really can't tell if you have passion for it unless that happens.
Exactly. And I made a promise to God during a very hard time like that, and it was that I would never give up. So if Light It Up is ever no longer in existence, it can't be, because I promised that I wouldn't give up. But it won't be from the failure of it. It'll be from God moving us to bigger things. But I made him a promise that I wouldn't quit. So that was the worst one. That was the time where I learned, but had to lick my wounds and keep on.
Now, did your mom do any coaching with you, as far as like, did you share with her any of your experiences and she sat you down and say, hey, this is how you can do this and this is how you can do that?
Oh, we have talks all the time. Even if it's just sitting down having dinner and me picking her brain on how her day was. It's more often her doing the talking and me listening, rather than me trying to share all that I have going on and things like that. But a lot of times, and she may not even know it, but I'll just start asking questions, and from that, because she's my mother, and she's a sweet lady, period. So for her, anyone that wants to learn, she has no problem, teaching. But there's plenty of talks that happen day to day where I just pick her brain on different things.
Now, I know you have mentors. Can you name a few and how they have played a role with you growing the business? So mentors, definitely my pastors. So Bishop Blue and Pastor V, Family Life. Also Auston, their son, who's now an associate pastor. My go-to mentor is Pastor Courtney Byrd, pastor of Freedom Life Church, along with my mom, Teresa Brown, I guess CEO and president of Brown Realty. My older brother Brian, who's back home in Virginia. But those are really my core, the core team. When I need something, I'm calling one of them, just to get different advice. And there's different people that God has placed in my life that I'm able to call and just kind of pick their brain. But that's definitely my starting five. What about friends? How you manage that circle? Because I know that's a very important.
It is.
Aspect, yeah.
I've really had the same friends. Of course, if you come and go at times, but I've really had the same core group of friends since I've gotten in San Antonio. Mm-hmm. A lot of us grew up together since I've been here, and a lot of them grew up together, and then me moving in just kind of got adopted into the family, right? But my core group of friends rarely changes. We've been through a lot together at this point. There's nothing we haven't been through, so I keep my close circle, very, very close. We keep a tight lock on each other.
That's good.
Now, the Drum Fest, that's still new. That's your new baby.
Yep.
And Light It Up, you want to spread around the country, right?
Around the world.
You said that in the magazine interview.
Yep.
Now, what is your vision for just the city of San Antonio as far as events and as far as attracting more people to these local events? What's your vision for that?
When I see San Antonio, I think there are a lot of cities where you go and there's one cool styling of events, rather than San Antonio is a very diverse city. Mm-hmm. So I believe with work, and it's being done by a lot of different people, but with the right work, we have the ability to be very diverse. So certain places in Florida, certain places in New York, certain places in California, where it's not just one scene. You go there and you can find something for everybody. I believe San Antonio can be a lot like a Los Angeles, just because of the diversity here.
Mm-hmm. If you could pick one city that you would love to have your event hosted, what city would that be?
Man,
Anyway.
Now Houston has taken Houston has really taken ownership of Light It Up. So I really want to say Houston. I'm just gonna go ahead and say Houston. I love Houston, the city of Houston, a lot. Light It Up has we're sending help to aid in all that's happened there and in the surrounding cities. But I'm just gonna vote Houston because Houston has shown a lot of love to Light It Up.
Now, some of the artists that you have, what was the music style that you usually have at these events?
It varies by night. So one night it might be a turn-up night with a Kayla Starks, and she's coming and singing and rapping. Another night you might have Jabari Johnson, who's coming and he's doing more soulful and funk stuff because he sings and plays the guitar. Another night it might be more so worship with Anitra Little because she's going to show with her acoustic guitar and just sing. So it varies. It's always still Christian no matter what. But the different variations of it just changes depending on the theme and just the tone of the night.
And you mentioned Christian, so that's part of the focal point of these events.
Absolutely.
Trying to spread that.
Definitely. It's definitely to create a platform for Christian, for local artists, Christian local artists.
And how's that play in your life, your personal life, as far as having that mission, living your life in a certain way?
It's fun. My life has always been centered around music. The cool thing is a lot of people don't know is I'm also a drummer. So starting as a musician, music has always been the center, has always been a very, a very large priority in my life. But because of things like Light It Up, it gives me the opportunity to really do music full time. So it's fun.
In leadership, this takes a lot of organizing. Mm-hmm. How does that affect when you're trying to actually make things happen? Because you're not doing it all by yourself.
Not at all.
You have a team with you.
Yep.
How do you manage your vision plus reality of what you have working with you?
Well, as far as the team goes, you have to find other people that are just as that are passionate about it as well. So it's easy for me to call Sarah or Morgan or Sydney or Kevin or Lauren and ask them at 3 a.m. to post something on Facebook because they're also passionate about it. But it's, as far as leadership goes, it's more of a respect thing between the two. A lot of people when they talk about leadership and respect, they only put all of the respect going towards the leader, but the leader also has to be respectful, and my dad taught me this, submissive to the team. So though I'm over Lighted Up, I don't walk in and say, hey, this is what we're going to do for the month, and you don't really have a say-so in it. Though it could be a cool idea, and I may really want to do it. If I bring something to the team and they say no, then it's just a no. But because
so you keep an open mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've learned real leaders do. Successful leaders do.
Yeah.
Rarely do they walk in and just dictate. It's always more so of a conversation in these groups, and it gets heated at times. It might be something that I'm really passionate about, or Sarah might really want to do, or Morgan might really want to do. But it takes us voting and sometimes stepping back and saying, okay, well, let's really stay focused on what the mission is here, and then let's move forward. But yeah.
So you allow other people on your team to shine, so to speak.
Oh, definitely.
You're not the only one shining. No,
not at all. Most of the people on the team have their own businesses. So Kevin is a barber. King Cuts, Sarah Tani Photography. Morgan is starting her own cosmetic tutorial, so she does makeups. Sydney is a worship leader. Everybody has their own lane, and through these things, I do my best to make sure that everybody is promoted. So whether it's bringing an artist in and taking them by the barbershop so that Kevin can give them a lineup, or if it's a young lady, having Morgan do the makeup, or letting Sid do the vocals for somebody, or whatever it is, however it is that I can help promote them, I do.
Speaking of promotions, what are some of your strategies? Because we live in the social media world. Mm-hmm. What's some of your strategies promoting yourself, getting yourself out there, and your brand?
With promotion, the quality of your stuff is very, very important. So whether it's graphics, a video, quality is very, very important. So if the stuff doesn't look good, people are going to keep swiping.
So you don't ever tweet yourself eating cereal or nothing like that?
There's a way to post almost anything. Keyword being almost. Mm-hmm. There's a way to post almost anything, but it has to be pleasing to the eye. That's the first thing. But I'm also learning you have to meet people where they are. So in this day, because social media is so prevalent, you're not always going to be as successful trying to push people to a website, rather than you run your website more so from social media. So I have a website, but I promote more so of our social media. It's easier for somebody to click Instagram and go to your profile. That's 2 pushes, rather than, or 2 clicks, rather than going in, clicking the website, having to scroll, find out what they're looking for. It's a lot, and it can't. Right, you got to hit the tab, and God forbid the stuff not be in order, and they have to scroll too much. Right, you don't want to do that. So, and I'm not saying don't start a website, but depending on what your age demographic is, you have to meet people where they are with promotion.
Now, at these events, do you have someone like shooting video clips for? Definitely.
Sarah Tani and Auston Blue also. Auston is starting his own media company, Servant's Vision. So Auston does a lot of videos. Sarah does a lot of photography. So we have clips and pictures of just about every event.
And when you post it, do you actually just post and just let it go, or you texting everybody, hey, share it, or?
With the team, yes. We all know once something goes out, we all need to share it. It takes a village to raise a child. So with Light It Up being my child, they're a part of the village. So in raising this child, it's, hey, everybody make sure y'all share it. Let's get the word out. Let's build this thing up. Because the more people that find out about it, the easier, the less we'll have to post it in a few years. So everyone knows what the game plan is when stuff is posted.
And if you just tune in, guys, we are recording at Rico Rodriguez, the owner of Rockefeller's Barbershop. Big shout out to him. Quick plugs, man. How can people reach you on social media real quick?
iGoByJOSH on all platforms.
And your website?
iGoByJOSH.com.
There you go. I like that brand, man. It's consistent. And Sam, your plugins?
check me out on Instagram, sam.el.barber, and then Samuel Sandoval on Facebook. And check out my wife. She's starting a new thing. It's Hair by Cassie, 1K, 3 E's. And that's on Facebook, Instagram, and I think Snapchat too. So go and check her out.
Awesome. And Josh, man, like, do you ever get to the point where you have to sit back and see where you're at as far as your business?
Definitely.
Like, were some times where you actually have to like pause and like, okay, how can I evaluate this and where I'm at and how it's measuring up?
Oh, that happens all the time. I think it's good to do that as much as possible.
Yeah.
So that you can figure out where to go. So, when you're trying to get to a certain destination and you're lost, and you type in the destination in your GPS, it first has to identify where you are. So with that, in terms of where I'm trying to get to, let me figure out where I am real quick, and whether that's on a grand scale, on a grand scheme, or on a more minute level. You definitely want to always try to evaluate and figure out, okay, where are we? As far as what the plan is. Once you have that plan, try to look and say, okay, where am I? All right, boom, I know I've accomplished this. And sometimes you may not be as far as you're trying to go, but or as far as you would like to be.
Yeah, at that moment. Yeah.
Evaluation as much as possible is always necessary. I do it as much as I can.
Now, I kind of touched on this earlier, but where would you want to be 3-5 years from now?
3 to 5 years. In our own building, the plan for Light It Up is to be its own standalone venue and brand. So within, you said 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, 3 to 5, 2, 3 to 5.
Definitely by 5. Our own brand, our own building, and by then really bringing in a lot of the artists that people really want to see. Right now it's cool because we're giving a lot of up and coming artists a lot of shots, but soon we would love to be able to bring in the artists that are currently charting. So it would be dope to bring in the Walls Group 1 month and Travis Greene the next month, and then Ty Tribbett the month after that. So within the next 2 years, the plan is to be on that level.
And you're an artist yourself. Like, you're not just a drummer, but you're a graphic designer.
I am. I didn't know where you was going when you said artist. I was about to say, I don't have no music out, brother.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Because people don't know this, but you made our logo for I Am Refocused.
I did.
You didn't
I forgot that.
That's you right there?
Yeah, that's him, man. So we haven't even tapped into that artistry of being a designer. When did you when was your first official project where you made when you sold it to someone? When was your first paid project?
Oh man,
Tell me it was us.
I really don't remember my first sale. I can think of my first project, but my first sale, I don't remember. The first project I did, graphic wise, was I did the flyer for my church's youth conference, and it was horrible. I look back at it now, that flyer was so bad.
They loved it though.
We did. We was kids, and we had a good idea. So I was like, man, so different people was trying to think of what we could do. So one person was like, I can sing, I can do praise and worship. Somebody else was like, well, I can dance, so I could put together like a little dance. I was like, I think I can design. So everybody else was saying what they could do. I was like, well, I think I could design, so I'm gonna make a flyer.
What software you use?
I didn't have a software.
Was it Paint? Was it?
No. So MySpace had. Then this tells you how old it was. MySpace had like a little picture editing like feature. So I made a flyer on MySpace. My first flyer ever created was on MySpace. If and when I can find it, I'm printing it and putting it on a T-shirt.
Okay.
But it was horrible, so the shirt's not going to be good. Yeah.
That's going to be an exclusive
shirt. Can't nobody else get it. I'm going to be the only one with it. But my first project was a youth conference flyer. that was horrible. But my first sale, I do not remember. Tell you the truth, it was probably my mom. My mom probably asked me to design something for her and just gave me something for it.
And she does
probably
real estate, right?
Real estate, yep. Brown Realty.
Man, that's what's up. So, all right, we talked about your mom kind of giving you influence and stuff, but what about the church? How's that really play a role and influence you as far as, I guess, morals and networking?
Morals, it's great because of the relationship that I have with my pastors. So I'm able to really just walk in their office and pick their brain on different things. They call me their third son. They have 2 children, Auston and AD. But since I've been here, they really took me in. So a lot of times, if you hear me say my mom and dad, I'm talking about my pastors, and it's not to discredit my actual parents. I just have that parenting relationship with my pastors. So morals and values, they're not like strict on me like military, but they keep me close to make sure that I'm grounded, and I'm grateful for that. And then networking, most of the things that I do now, I did first at my church. So from Light It Up, they first allowed me to run the youth at the church, Elevate. At the time when I was a teenager, we started an open mic night. There's a lot of people that I met through that, so they put me over that. So before there was a Light It Up, there was an Elevate Unplugged. Before I had a clothing line, I was designing the T-shirts for the youth ministry. Before I had my own graphics company, I was designing the flyers at my church. Before I was playing for Xavier Omar, I was playing drums at church and praise and worship on Sundays. So a lot of the things that I do now, I did at my church first. So I'm so grateful for. So
you actually started somewhere, because a lot of people get confused and think, oh, let me just launch the brand and bam.
Oh no, there was
a lot of prep.
Right, there was a lot of experience put in first. Light It Up was not my first event ever. I had tried.
You just did wake up and
no,
tomorrow.
Absolutely not. I actually, before Light It Up, I didn't want to do events until it was time for that big event, and I prayed a prayer that was rather dangerous, but I thank God that He sees the heart and the intent of that prayer. And I tried an event, it failed, and I told God, I said, if I do another event, you're going to have to make me, because it failed. And stepping back, I'm looking at it now, I'm like, wow, that it was bold, but He knew what I meant, and from that, He really pushed me. But we had done plenty of events before Light It Up. It just...
So you were like Jacob. You're wrestling with it.
Oh, it wasn't easy. It was definitely a wrestle. It was definitely...
You got a limp?
Just a little bit.
Now, when you are, when you're at an event and you're are you actually behind the scenes watching things as it's going on, or you're actually like hosting your own
Light It
stage?
Up?
Yeah.
I do not host Light It Up.
So you're kind of just chaperoning and just seeing things going smooth, or are you in your car waiting for someone to say?
No. This past Light It Up was the first time I didn't actually have anything to do, which was really cool. I played drums for a group that I'm a part of, but because of the different things that go on and the different jobs that people have, rarely do I actually have to be. Am I supposed to be running around? So I'm supposed to just be standing back, making sure, just kind of supervising. But yeah, I've never hosted a Light It Up.
How hard is that though?
To just not do anything?
Yeah, because you want everything to be perfect. And you see something going.
This last one was cool because the show was going on, and I'm like, I'm supposed to be doing something. Like, I feel like I'm supposed to be doing something, and it flowed and went very well. This last one in August was one of the better Light It Ups that we've ever had, and I had nothing to do that night other than play drums. Like, it was cool. I was able to greet people when they came in. And we had greeters, but because I had nothing else to do, I just stood at the door and said welcome when people came in, along with everybody else.
If you're just tuning in, I want to let you guys know, big shout out to Rico Rodriguez and Rockefeller's Barbershop. And my co-host, Deborah, gave me a note. We're going to give a shout out to Miss T She be cutting hair too at barbershop, man.
Miss T.
Maybe we can get her on the show one day.
Let's
We're still trying to recruit her slowly but surely.
She'll get on.
Eventually. So, all right. So, when you are networking, do you try to network outside the state or outside the city?
Definitely.
As far as like making connections and stuff with perhaps maybe not just artists, but other people that's kind of like-minded, like yourself, entrepreneur.
Definitely, and that's why we show so much love to Houston, because like no other city, that's been, and I don't necessarily know why, but I'm grateful for it, but Houston has been the city that's really taken a liking to it. So there's a lot of different event planners and coordinators there, and artists and just entrepreneurs in Houston that we connect with, but we're always looking to connect with other people. If I'm gonna move this to another city, I need to have somebody already there. I can't just show up in your city and no one know me and say, hey, all y'all show up to this event. So the plan is, once it's time to move it to another city, we just find somebody else that is trying to start their own platform and really just push them through this one.
Wow. And what's some of the steps that you will have to take as far as like expanding to different cities?
Steps to take. I start anything like that. I'm starting off with prayer to make sure that it's the right move from a spiritual standpoint. But then from there, just making sure that all of the logistics are good. So having the right venue, because you always want to keep the integrity of the event. So if people know, if I show up in San Antonio and I'm going to see a cool stage design, I'm going to see the lights, it's going to be a screen, I need to make sure that I'll also have that there. But the following also has to be there. I could have a great venue with a lot of great artists showing up, but if there's not a demand for it, then I can't demand people to show up. Pastor Kev said this. Pastor Kevin Duhart said this. He said, "You're not in demand until you're in demand." Meaning, I can't show up in Arkansas and say, and make a demand for people to show up if they're not even demanding for me to show up.
Exactly.
So once there's a demand in the city, then we'll go.
And that's good advice, because say, all right, someone's listening to this podcast and they would like to do what you're doing, put on events. What advice would you tell them that they need to, if they have no experience, like zero, what are some of the few key things they got to do to prepare themselves to get going?
Definitely trying to find, trying to find someone older to learn from. A lot of the hard lessons that we learn in my generation, we could avoid if we were to just sit under somebody who's walked in our shoes.
So get involved like a church or something.
Definitely get involved with a local church, or even someone else that does events, so somebody older. So a lot of my mentors have done things like this before. My godfather's a pastor, so it's really easy to pick his brain on things like this. But
someone with a lot of experience.
Right, definitely finding somebody with a lot of experience.
Wisdom.
And work ethic.
Yeah. Right.
Because it's not like you can just think about it.
Right, yeah. You're going to have to see somebody, getting up and doing these things, but and just studying.
There's actually something that, because you've been mentioning prayer a lot. So, some people might get it wrong. They probably think, you pray Our Father. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, what's
because we say prayer a lot, and I want you to explain more, because they're probably he probably because a lot of people pray, but they're not organic prayers.
Yeah, it's not. No, believe me, hanging out with me, you'll learn I'm not deep and wonderful, and it's not to disrespect anybody that is more deep than I am, but when I say prayer, I mean more so of a conversation between you and God. So the same way,
that is deep.
The same way I'm sitting here having a conversation with you all, a lot of times, depending on the topic, it's the same way I speak with God. So in my car, talking to God about this, Lord, I'm on my way over here. I don't know how this is going to work out. Boom, boom. And just really communicating with him. There's no you don't have to go to him all the time with these and the thou and the thou art. I can't. That's just not how I talk. So I don't speak in the King James version.
Right.
So I'm not going to try to pray in the King James version either. If that's how you speak and that's how you do it, cool. I'm not knocking you. That's just not how it works for me. So when I say pray, really go to God and just have a conversation with him. Depending on the severity of the conversation, you may need to really hone in and really focus on that prayer and get on your knees and spend some time just away from people. Maybe put on some worship music, find a little quiet spot somewhere and do it. But I forgot who said it. I always hear my godmother say it, but she said, I don't pray longer than 30 minutes, but I also don't go 30 minutes without talking to God. Wow. So when I say pray, I'm saying having a conversation with God.
It was a continuous conversation you probably having throughout the day.
Always.
It's not like you wake up, say at 8 o'clock in the morning, then you're mute for the rest of the day until you go to sleep.
Absolutely not. No.
So you be in traffic in San Antonio, you're going to be saying a lot of prayers.
Right. Lord, please help me, because this person just cut me off and my hand really wants to rise, but I know that's not what you want me to do, so I'm going to hold the wheel at the bottom, because just please, Lord.
And it's like that, too, in real life. Like,
right.
You can be in traffic in real life, like having a real life moment. And, things just... Tell us a story or something that comes to mind where, things outside of the event, where things just kind of got shook and you just had to be like, God, I need you to step in, or I need you to, do something.
Like, basically, that was your only thing that you could do. Nothing else.
I guess it was when I graduated from high school, trying to figure out what my next step was. Was it go to college? Do I join the military? I was praying not to go to the military because I didn't want to cut my hair. But it was really that time where I was really trying to find my way. What do I do? So when I graduated, it was a big step because I had a lot of opportunities, but it was really me trying to find my lane. So at that time, that was when he told me to go back. He told me to go to school, so I started going to St. Philip's. But
now, what you study there?
Business.
See, it was all like that from the beginning. It was all planned out. Yeah. And explain to the audience what is something that you would want someone who's listening to this to get out of, planning their life, trusting God for the bigger picture, so to speak. What's something you tell them to keep them inspired, motivated, to learn how to let go and let God, so to speak, take control? Because a lot of times you want to be in control of everything,
right?
No matter what it is.
It's really to be able to let go and let God. You have to be able to trust God. So you have to look for the areas in your life where He's proven Himself. He's done it. He does it every day. But you have to be able to look and recognize, and even at times asking God to reveal it and just kind of show how He's done it for you. Whether regardless of what that is for that person, but really trusting God on things and knowing that what it is He told you to do is for you to do. If He said it and you're following, that's the easiest part.
So knowing your lane, because there are times where, we have a generation of people, they like to compare themselves to everybody. Mm-hmm. What would you say to someone who maybe they're still trying to compare themselves to so-and-so, because so-and-so got this and so-and-so got that. I'm stuck with this.
I would never suggest anyone compare themselves to anyone else. You can study others to find out what can work for you, but I would never suggest comparing yourself to anyone, because you'll always find when you do comparisons, a lot of times you're looking for something negative, whether it be in you or in them. And depending on who you compare yourself to, a lot of times you're going to end up finding the negative in yourself. So that could lead to so many other things: depression, discouragement. So I would never encourage anyone to ever compare themselves to anyone else. Study other people to figure out what is it that they do that I can also do, or when they were my age, what were they doing? Just to kind of get an idea. But I would not suggest you compare yourself to anyone, because at some point you could end up deciding that you're not as good as them, or that anyone is better, and that's not true.
Or you lose yourself, because
right.
You're like trying to be exactly like the person that you're comparing yourself,
right.
Or you're trying to be exactly opposite of them, and you lose yourself in that, and you're not yourself no more. You're a copycat,
right? And you're no longer chasing your dream. You could end up, like you said, on a rabbit trail chasing somebody else's dream.
Exactly.
One of the people I look up to a lot is Diddy, because he's been a great entrepreneur and he's very, very passionate.
He loves cheesecake,
and he loves cheesecake, but I'm not sending nobody to walk 3 miles to get me some cheesecake. But I'm not gonna compare myself to Diddy. It's not a good idea. When he was my age, I'm studying to figure out, okay, what was he doing? How can I make that happen for me in my own lane? Another person would be Nick Cannon. If I compare myself to Nick Cannon and P. Diddy all day, I would be in a depression. I wouldn't have shown up today. I'd have been in a ball in my room, twiddling my thumbs, like, man, this is not good.
I mean, that's true, because you lose your identity, you lose your signature, and you lose your fingerprint.
Right.
And everyone's uniquely made to have their own success, their own final product.
Right.
And if you don't ever discover, because we all got the same 24 hours.
Yep.
Diddy, he did his thing 24 hours. He knew what he was going to do. He knew how to measure his success. He knew how to set his goals. We haven't touched on that that much. Your goal setting. How do you break down your goals, and how do you know that you're on track?
With setting goals, you have to be realistic with them. So, though I would love for 1 million people to show up to Drumfest tomorrow, I'm not going to set the goal of me going out and talking to 1 million people. It's unrealistic. So with setting goals, be realistic, and know what you're capable of. So be wise in your goal setting. Know what you're able to do, and for there, just be wise and really try to detail it. So even if it's a small step, make that a step.
Yeah, basically, just be realistic about yourself.
Be realistic, absolutely. Be realistic and be detailed. That when it comes to goal setting, be realistic. I guess to keep it simple, be realistic and be very detailed with everything. And if it's something simple, it just makes you feel better once you check that off.
Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to business, in your opinion, what is a successful business and business person?
A successful business person, I would say Nick Cannon, to give an example. But I would also say my mother. So I can't tell you what a successful business is if I'm not a part of it. But if that business is living up to the standard that the founder and whoever is running it at that time set for it to be, then it's successful. So if my mother said a successful business day for Brown Realty is to sell 3 houses a day, and she's selling 3 houses a day, even if I think she could be selling 6, if she's saying that's what it is for her business, who am I to say otherwise? So I think the success of a business depends on what the original plan is for that business. That's why nobody could ever call you a failure. Not to preach, I'm not a preacher. That's why nobody can call you a failure. If God said you're supposed to be doing this and you're doing that, then nobody else can step in and say otherwise.
So it all boils down, kind of piggyback on earlier about having that plan.
Having a plan. Plan first.
That plan is going to get you where you can end up, because God takes control. Like, we might have a plan, and my friend says he can mess that plan up. And you share a lot of stories today on he was messing up your plans but they were just enhancing to his ultimate plan.
Right. That's why you pray first. If you pray first, he'll give you the right plan. My brother explained something to me. The Bible says God will give you the desires of your heart. And he was saying a lot of times we look at it from he said there's a angle that very few people have looked at it. And we think desires of our heart as in goals that we may set. So we might think a desire of mine might be for, Drumfest to be sold out. And not that he won't do that, but a lot of times God will give you what to desire. So you should be he'll give you the desire of wanting to get up and work on this business or wanting to get up and do this. So
that's good.
A lot of times if you pray first, you'll get the right plan.
Because no name drop, but when you're not focused on
shameless plug. I see what you did there.
When you're not focused on that crucial part, because I like we said earlier about the GPS. Before you even put anything in the GPS, you gotta know where you're at.
Right, gotta know where you're at.
Because you could be in China trying to get to San Antonio, but if you're in denial and you think you're in Austin, Texas, that's gonna be a long trip.
That's gonna be a long drive. At some point, you might have to get out the car.
Yeah. Or you walk it.
Swim. A lot of water.
But, touch on, because time just flies when you're talking. You got 10 minutes left. Touch on just wrapping this whole show up in a nice, package. What is your thoughts on just people? They may not like their environment, and maybe they had the tendency to blame a lot of other people. What will you tell that person to focus on or just work on instead of blaming the outside?
I guess it would start with their perception. I believe that we're all a product of our environments. It's just the perception that you see things from. It's the same way two twins can grow up in the same house, sharing the same room, eating the same food, going to the same school, walking the same way, but their lives go completely different. It's because at some point their perception of things were different. So it first changes from you. And I don't want to say being okay with the things that you can't change, but know that you're not in control of all things. So you really just have to, it starts with changing your perception and then being positive. So if you're always seeing something negative and you're blaming somebody else, at some point you're going to realize this has gotten me nowhere. At some point I need to change my perception and just go for it. Whatever it is that person is trying to go for, you're just going to have to go for it. Plan, pray, plan, execute. No matter what it is. Pray, plan, execute.
You need to write a book. That's the title of your book, man. For real.
Yeah, man.
Because, man, break that down. Those 3 words. Break the 3 keys, man.
Pray, plan, execute.
You need a t-shirt, man.
Maybe I do.
With that MySpace picture.
Oh, man. You pray to find out what God's heart is for that subject. From there, you ask him to reveal the plan. You follow the steps. You list out in detail what it is that the plan is, so that you don't start planning something and then you feel like God is having to ruin something and change something up. You pray first, you can plan appropriately, and then from there, once you got the plan, if he's giving you the plan, ain't nothing anybody else can do, so you just execute.
That's I think that's what James was talking about when he was saying works without faith and stuff like that, is because people will pray and then sit there,
right, and
do absolutely nothing, and then they're like, God doesn't answer prayers.
They're waiting on God versus just getting up and taking action,
right?
Because when you take action, the plan starts to reveal itself anyway.
Yep.
Because like I said, he will mess it all up.
Yeah. Even Jesus had to move. Jesus had if he didn't move, he wouldn't be on that cross.
Right.
You're right.
And you'll have to do some things that you don't want to do. If you remember, before Christ got on the cross, He didn't necessarily want to get on the cross. He said if there's another way.
He was at Whataburger.
He was crying for a little bit, and then he just said, you know what?
Yeah.
This is not my will, but your will be done. So he made it happen. And that's I like how y'all just flow with that. That was not planned, guys. But I like how this ended because it's about 7 minutes left. I like how you just tie that in together, just like your events. You know, you're tying the whole faith type deal. You know, how important that is that for you when someone says, you know, I was inspired by the artist that did this song. You know, I was inspired by the atmosphere. How important is that for you in your whole like vision for what you're trying to do in the community? Well,
At core, leading people to Christ is the reason why we do all of these things. So though the mainstream motive is to provide a platform for local artists, for that artist, what that artist is supposed to be going out to do is to lead souls. So at the end of every night, we don't close not one night, one basketball game. I don't care if we all go to the bistro and eat. The one thing that our goal at core is to lead people to Christ. So if somebody shows up and hears a song, or they see a video, or they hear a joke, or whatever it is that is thought-provoking and it plants that seed and they ask, that night was a success. That's a successful night. Because that's the whole goal. The goal of it is to lead people to Christ. If we're not leading people to Christ at Light It Up, then I don't want to do it anymore. But as long as we're still getting kids saved, I'm good.
Because what's the point? What's the point?
Exactly.
Like, if God ain't the end result of anything, like even us cutting hair here, if he ain't the end result, there's no point.
Only what you do for Christ will last.
Yeah.
Man, you got these drops.
I didn't make that one up. I know. I was gonna say I didn't do that one.
I know that was nice paraphrase, but yeah, man. All right, I wanted to say thank you for being on this show.
The
man.
pleasure was all mine. Thank you all for having me.
It wasn't long enough.
It wasn't long enough. I mean, we still got 5 minutes. We can stretch this out a little bit. What's your last thought you would like to share with someone who's listening to this? Like, maybe someone doesn't know anything about faith. Maybe they're listening to this like, man, what are they even talking about? What's this thing they talking about, God and Christ and all that? What would you say to them for them to learn more or just understand where you're coming from?
Man, it's really easy. And it starts with simply opening your heart up to talk to God and waiting on him to talk back. Salvation isn't hard. It's not difficult. A lot of times we walk into churches or people can walk into churches and they make it feel like this big grand thing. It's not like registering to vote. It's you're connecting with the creator, your Father. He's not far. He's in your heart already. So in terms of trying to figure out, as some would say, the God thing, it's really you just taking a moment to connect with him, speaking to him. You don't have to sound deep. I don't sound that way. But you just opening up your heart, and it's you talking to him about whatever it is you want to talk to him about. And that's where it starts. It starts with communication and building the relationship. And from there, so many great things will happen. So many great doors will open. There's so many blessings in store for us all. No good thing will he withhold from us.
That's right.
But it starts with just building that connection with him. And it all starts with a conversation.
Man, drop mic. They're still on the table, y'all. But man, one more time, give your social media so people can stay connected to you. And Drum Fest, plug that one more time.
Drum Fest happens tomorrow. Doors open at 6. It's happening at Christian World. I believe Miss Deborah is pulling up the address real quick.
It'll be in the description too. So
yes,
either way.
And it is all over my social media. So on all platforms, just type in iGoByJOSH. I'll be the only person to come up. But the address is I believe it's something like 6633 Walzem Rd, I believe.
Double check the description.
Please do. Please. I don't want to have nobody at the gas station. Yes, 6633 Walzem Rd at Christian World. Doors open up at 6. It's $10 at the door. We have a concert tonight. We have sessions tomorrow, Saturday morning. And then we have another concert on Saturday night. So Drum Fest tomorrow, $10 at the door. There's something for everybody. I'm playing drums. D. Hendry's playing drums. A lot of other guys from the city are playing drums. Light It Up is also going to be in the building. They're singing. It's just going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be one big party, a hangout, playing drums, singing songs, dancing, jumping off the walls. At the end of the night, of course, we will offer salvation. But yeah, tonight is really just a big celebration. It's a party. It's a festival. There'll be food to buy. There'll be T-shirts. It's available for all ages. I believe kids get in free.
There you go.
So, but show up. If you don't have $10 and you show up, but you still want to come in, call me. I'll get you in. So I don't want. It's $10 out the door, but don't let that $10 be the reason why you don't show up. But if you got $10, don't you call my phone like, hey man, can I hold the team? So yeah, tonight Drum Fest, 6 o'clock, 6633 Walzem Rd. And just to connect with me and the different things that I have going on, I go by Josh on all forms of social media.
And Sam.
Once again, Sam.el.barber for Instagram, and then Facebook, Samuel Sandoval. And make sure to follow my wife again, Hair by Cassie, K, 3 E's.
Perfect. And that is the show for today, guys. Right on the money, 11 o'clock a.m. This is how we do it on a.m. I almost said radio station. See, when you work a day job, you're so used to doing your day job. So, yeah. I Am Refocused Magazine. Can't get it right. I Am Refocused Podcast, RefocusMagazine.com. Want to give a big shout out to Rockefeller's Barbershop, Rico Rodriguez, the owner. Make sure you get your hair cut. And shout out to Miss T. We're going to recruit her until she get on the mic. She's so talented. And
we have a lot of deep conversations, me and T.
Yeah, she's just trying to... She's trying to play it safe.
It's the quiet ones you got to worry about.
She's going to take over the show. I'm just sit back.
Putting you on blast, T.
I'm just sit back and let her do the show next week, probably. But big shout out to everyone who's listening to this. Make sure you share this with your friends. And big shout out to Mr. iGoByJOSH.
My man.
Peace out, y'all. God bless. Peace.